So hey there, my name is Jeff Boyle and I am a realtor in Southwest Ohio, and I am going to do video number 4 in our home buyer video series. And today's topic is getting your home search started. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes kind of walking you through the home search process, at least in this area. Most areas around the country, it's going to be somewhat similar. But here in the Southwest Ohio region, Cincinnati, Dayton, those areas, this is kind of what that home search is like for home buyers, okay? So first of all, once you have met with a lender and you've picked an agent, you need to sit down and build a home search strategy with your realtor. You don't want to just kind of run out and pop at houses that as they come up and pop on the market, take a look at them and then go to the next one and take a look at it and then go to the next one. So when you build a strategy, you need to sit down with your realtor and kind of discuss how you live in your house, how you plan to use your house. Do you entertain? Do you not entertain? Do you have kids? Do you not have kids? How old are the kids? There's all kinds of things that they can go through with you that are going to help them hit that bullseye when they're looking for a house for you. So first of all, you've got to tell your real estate agent what your must-haves are, the things that you absolutely have to have. And if the house doesn't have it, you're not going to buy it. That's simple. The must-haves, it's the number one thing that you need to go over, outside of budget, obviously. That being said, the next thing you need to go over with your agent is the absolutely do not want items. Like if something is on your list that you absolutely do not want and you're not going to buy a house if it has it, that needs to be on this strategy. So let's say a pool, that's a common one. People either typically want a pool or they don't want a pool. There's not a lot of people that are in the middle. So if you absolutely don't want a pool, that needs to be on your strategy list. You don't want to go waste your time looking at a house that has a pool if you absolutely don't want a pool. It sounds simple, but let me tell you, we run into it all the time. The next thing is touring houses. So in your strategy, your agent's going to go over what that touring process is like, and we'll hit that a little bit today. But when you are touring houses, you need to take that strategy and apply it even before you go into the house, right? You need to look at that particular property, okay, and look at the surroundings, the neighborhood. Is there a water tower behind it? Like, you need to know all that kind of stuff. And you need to put that on a list and look at all that before you ever actually walk into the property. So that's kind of your basic strategy list. Like when a house pops on the market, go through the must-haves, the I absolutely don't want, and go through that kind of touring strategy list where it's like, what's the neighborhood like? What's the street like? What are the neighboring houses like? Is there a water tower in the back? Is there a big high power electrical line in the back? You got to look for all that stuff before you even go to the house. So when you actually start touring houses, like I said, the first place you want to look at is online. You want to look at the pictures, the neighborhood, the surroundings, all that kind of stuff like we just talked about. Then property information. So some agents, not all, will give access to property disclosures that, at least here in Ohio, they're required by the state in most cases. Lead-based paint disclosures. But some agents will give you additional property information. How is the roof? How are the windows? How are the appliances? How old is the flooring? They'll give you a list of a lot of that stuff, so you see it even before you enter the house. You know how old the HVAC system is, the AC system, the water heater. Some agents will give that and they'll attach it to the listing. If they have that, look at it before you go into the house, okay? A good agent is going to compile all that information and put it on the listing for you as the buyer. You're going to want to know that stuff anyway. Give it to you up front. Another thing that a lot of times is on that is average utility costs. That's another thing that buyers ask us all the time. What are the average utility costs? So if the agent has access to that information, they need to get that to you so you can look at that ahead of time, right? The next thing is like upgrades. Is there a list of upgrades or updates that have been done to the house since they purchased the house? The roof, finished basement. Did they add a pool? Like, did they add on a garage? Whatever it is, because buyers like to look at what they purchased the house for, which in my mind, it's kind of irrelevant if it's been purchased in the last year or two. But when a buyer looks at that and say they purchased it 2 years ago for $200,000 and now they're asking $350,000, the market's not up that much. Why are they asking that much, right? What kind of upgrades were done to the house and what kind of remodels were done to the house? That all that information can be given up front. If the listing agent is a good agent, they're going to be able to give all that information up front. The buyer's agent, if they know that you are interested in that house and that information is not available, they can try to get it. But a lot of times, if the listing agent hasn't provided that information up front, they don't know it. Okay. So we'll have to get that as we go through that process. And then as you're going through the house, you need to stay together when you're walking through the house. We don't as agents, for a couple of reasons. We don't want you splitting up and going into separate rooms. Okay. We don't want your kids running all over the place. We don't want your parents in one room and you in another room. This is why. There's a couple reasons. First of all, we need to hear all your comments. If we're not hearing about all the things you like and don't like when it comes to that house, we're not able to take that information and apply it to the next houses that you're looking at, right? So the more information we can hear and the more information you give us, the more apt we are that we're able to hit that bullseye for you and find that house that's going to work for you for 90% of things, right? The other reason we need you all to stay together, and this rarely happens, but if something would show up missing from the house and a listing agent calls me and says, hey, this showed up missing from the house. I know you guys showed it today. I can tell them, listen, my buyers were within eyesight of me all the time. 100% of the time, I know they did not take it. I can vouch for them. That way they can go and start talking to other agents that listed or that showed that house that day. So we need you to stay in eyeshot and earshot of us at all times. You should never split up and go to different places, okay? The next thing is you got to track the neighborhoods and the areas that you like, okay? And here's what I mean by track them. You need to watch the home prices as they come on the market, watch those prices when they go pending, watch those prices when they're sold. And why? Because those are typically 3 different prices. If a house comes on at $450, maybe the prices drop to $440 and then it sells at $430, right? That's 3 different prices. If you don't find a home right away and you're watching your neighborhood, you can kind of see where houses are selling, how long they're staying on the market, what the list price to sale price ratio is. Your agent can tell you all that also, and they should give you all that information. But you can kind of watch that too. As they're sending houses to you in the areas that you like and the neighborhoods that you like, watch that and pay attention to that information, okay? A little pro tip. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I said it once, I'm going to say it again. The more information you can give your agent up front and through the process, the better chances are that they're going to be able to find that house for you. Now, let's be clear, there is no perfect house. You're never going to find a perfect house, but they're going to find a house that hits most of your check boxes, right? But you got to be able to give them the correct information, and you've got to be willing to be honest with them about the things that you like and don't like, and you got to tell them. A lot of times, we will show a house, and if we don't ask what did you like and what did you not like about the house, you just don't tell us. So we need to know that information, right? And then finally, you go through all the houses, you finally find one that you like. So what happens then? Okay, you decide you want to write an offer. The agent can either go out and pull comparable sales, or they might actually know whether or not that house is priced where it should be. If they do a lot of work in the area, and the house is a suburban house, your typical house, right? They probably have a pretty good idea of whether that house is priced where it should be. But they can also go back and pull comparable sales to find out where that house really should sell. If it's listed at $400, but it really should sell at $350, they need to know that, and they should tell you that when you're discussing how you're going to write an offer and what you're going to come in at and what terms you're going to ask, right? That's all part of that, okay? So they need to pull those comparable sales, or they need to give you that information one way or the other. You need to determine what your target purchase price is, depending on what that house should sell for, or how much you like it. You need to know that target purchase price. You need to tell your agent this. You got to trust your agent to tell them, I'll go up to this, but I'd really rather be here, okay? That's okay. You need to be able to tell your agent. They're not allowed to tell the other agent any of that information without your permission. Okay? They better not be doing it or they can lose their license or get fined. Okay? Be honest with your agent. Tell them where you stand. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like. Tell them why you want to be where you want to be. They will advise you on what you should and shouldn't do. And ultimately, that decision is yours on what you want to do, right? And then during that negotiation process, you need to be extremely responsive, okay? I can't tell you how many times we go write an offer, we send it for signatures, we go over it with you, and then it's hours before that offer signed. Just know that it's not your house until everybody agrees on terms and everybody signs those. So we've seen people lose houses because we were talking to them on the phone, and then all of a sudden we send them the offer that we discussed, and they sit on it for 2 or 3 hours because they either don't see it or they're busy or do whatever. And in the meantime, someone else comes in and buys a house. So once you start to negotiate, you need to be extremely responsive to your agent, whether that's an email, a text, or a phone call. It doesn't matter. I would hate for you to lose a house because you didn't see an email or text because you weren't watching your phone, okay? So that's kind of the home search process in a nutshell. Now, there's a lot more to it, and your agent will go over that with you. At least they should go over that with you when you actually get started. That being said, this is kind of your basic overview of the home search process. So stay tuned for our next video where we actually talk you through the negotiation process and go into more of those details. Don't forget to like this, comment below with any questions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more information. Keep an eye out for our next video on the negotiation process. Thanks for watching. Again, my name is Jeff Boyle, and I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Ohio.